For the benefit of the bots, not for sale. Hello and welcome to Bloke on the Range, and this is the Cabin Fever Challenge 2025 results video. This is the first time it's been run as a Bloke on the Range challenge, and the response from the participants has been fantastic. Now, first of all, thanks to Richard for founding the challenge back in 2024. He's also known as Rifle Chair. He ran it for the first 10 years. This is the 11th year, I believe, and what we'd done is we'd worked over the rules a bit to answer all the can I questions that typically come up. We've added flexibility for the distances that people could shoot at, and we've added a new Division 7 for traditional rifles, traditional manually operated iron-sighted rifles that have been displaced from Division 3 by the modern sort of tactical style detachable mag scoped rifles. Now, the way this works is that each of the division leaders has their own little video that will come in sequence. First, thank you so much to not only Richard, who's still very, very much active behind the scenes with the stats and the social media side of things, but all of the 7 division leaders have done sterling work despite some difficult conditions, both weather and politically, certainly in Canada this time round. They've all done fantastic work to put all of this together, and it's been great. So basically, the highlights of the results and the challenge have been we had 111 entries in total, which smashed last year's record of 83. So the publicity has been good. It is excellent watching people really engaging with a challenge that is flat range, single firing position, even though you're shooting standing, kneeling, prone, and then sitting with reloads. Obviously, that's not 111 individuals. That's 111 entries, and a lot of people, including Chappie and myself, entered multiple divisions. Division 7 was immediately popular. There were 21 entries in Division 7, slightly pipped at the post by the open division, where you can shoot your modern scoped semi-autos and everything, which had 22. And then the highlight from the shooting side is that the previous Division 5, that's Muzzleloader division, 2 shooters beat the previous record. Kieran James pipped it. He won last year, but this year he pipped the all-time record and came second. And Everything Black Powder absolutely smashed it and won it with a new division record by about 7 points. So I'll shut up now and I'll hand you over to the division leaders. Division 1.
Hey everyone, this is Ryan from the channel Origear. Super excited to bring you the results for Division 1 this year for 2025. Once again, this was another great year. We had 15 people participating in Division 1, so not a bad turnout, all things considered. It's obviously an honor to be representing one of the divisions that is so highly participated in, and one that I feel a lot of connection to, even though I didn't run it this year. But one that I think is pretty fascinating, being vintage military firearms, anything in as issued configuration from 1958 or earlier. We typically see this division dominated by a specific type of firearm. However, we had a little bit of a different representation in the leaderboard for this one. Before we jump into the top 3 people for Division 1, I just want to recognize all the people who have participated. We had everything from, bog standard AK-47s, we had a Moss 49, we had an L1A1, we had a bunch of M1 Garands, M1 carbines, and SKS rifles. We even had a couple M1As mixing it in there as well. So big shout out to everyone who participated. I think this is a really, really fun division, so I'm glad we had such a good turnout. So in position 3, we had DMP in BC, which, if his name doesn't imply it for you, is from Canada. He was running an SKS rifle, specifically a Chinese variant, and he had 10 hits in 67 seconds for a grand total score of 74.6. So really great run. He also had a downrange camera, which I always love if I can see where the hits are happening as they're happening, especially for me, just trying to extrapolate it as a shooter, identifying what positions are better for people than others and where people are clearly more practiced. I always find it fascinating when I can see that. In number 2 position from the USA, we had AKM 295, one of the OGs when it comes to this competition. He's been competing in this thing for quite a while. He was running an M1 carbine in 30 carbine, and he had 9 hits in a blazing fast 46 seconds. He was really burning through this thing, and he came in then with a grand total score of 97.8. So very, very respectable score, and many of his misses were just barely outside of that 8-inch circle. So really, really commendable performance there. And then finally, in the number 1 position with an M1 Garand, we had Orloksen. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but Brent over there, again, one of the other people who's been participating in this competition as long as I can remember. And he had 15 hits, I think the most number of hits, actually tied for most number of hits in this division, in 74 seconds, which gave him a score of 101.4. So really commendable performance. As important as it is to recognize the people who did the best in the division, I also think it's worth mentioning the people who performed at the lower end of the bracket, because these people still are participating, still demonstrating that they want to get better in the roles of musketry. And I think it's really commendable that they still are putting themselves out there as a record of where their performance is in 2025. And I'm anxious to see these folks bringing it up in the future. And I'm sure this first person won't mind me mentioning down at the bottom, kind of with odds stacked against him, we had the chap out of Switzerland. He was shooting the Moss 49 in 7.5 French, and he had 2 hits in 132, basically 133 seconds for a grand total of 7.5. Again, he really stacked the odds against him, but he still participated, still went through it, still finished the shooting, and was willing to put himself out there. So I always appreciate that. In second to last place, shooting a AK-47 as a Wasser 1063. Unfortunately, not in as issued configuration, so it doesn't quite count towards the division scores overall, but still nonetheless submitting his score. We had Tactical Side Monkey out of the USA, and he had 4 hits in 227 seconds for a score of 8.8. But again, demonstrating that willingness to put himself out there and document his performance. And then third from the bottom, we had Greg Yateman. He was shooting an M1 Garand in 30-06, and he had 4 hits in 128 seconds for a score of about 15. So again, I think it's really important to recognize not only the people at the top, but the people at the bottom, the people who are willing to put themselves out there, because I think that's what this competition is all about. It's about putting yourself out there, showing what your performance is, and then competing against yourself as you move forward and seeing as your skills develop and progress. It's really easy to film yourself, have a not super great performance, and just say, I'm just not going to submit this year. These people put themselves out there, and I think that's commendable, and I really appreciate everyone across all the divisions who are willing to put themselves out there. So with all that being said, I will pass it on to the next division leader, and thanks everyone for watching.
Division 2.
Howdy folks, this is Murray, 3Bardy Videos, and I was this year's host for Division 2 of the 2025 Cabin Fever Challenge. This year we received 19 entries that can be officially entered into the Roll of Musketry scoreboard, and they are as follows. fourth place, coming from the land of two seasons, winter and construction, we have myself using a molested SKS still chambered in 7.62 by 39. And in true Russian doctrine, I identified the target as a hostage, and because of such, I managed to hit it 15 times in 70 seconds, yielding a score of 107.1, which most notably sets a new all-time record for the SKS in the Cabin Fever Challenge, and once again puts it neck and neck with the likes of AKs and VZ58s in terms of competitiveness. And in fourth place, coming from America, a land devoid of ketchup chips and Kinder Surprises, we have Ryan.
I think I got a winner.
What are you talking about?
Ryan.
Who has returned once again from last year to compete in the challenge, this time using a 16-inch barreled AR-15 chambered in 5.56. He achieved 13 hits on target in a respectably fast time of 58 seconds, giving him a score of 112. Great shooting as always, Ryan. In third place, we have another American shooting in a forest with some trees that may have provided some inspiration for Dr. Seuss. Dan, the shooter's apprentice, was using a radical AR-15 with a 16-inch barrel. Another 16-inch barrel, which honestly made me ask.
No. Wait.
Turns out it is average, which is interesting because up here in Kanukistan, the average length is
Illegal!
Dan managed to get a whopping 19 hits on target, but in a moderately longer time of 82 seconds, still giving him an excellent score of 115.9. Exceptional shooting, Dan. Hope to see you once again next year. In second place, located deep within the lands of always winter, we see Brett, our Loxon, and noble knight of the Sling Users clan. Cloaked in iron plaid and armed mostly with a beard and arrow precision AR-15, he managed to hit the target 17 times in 70 seconds, giving him a very respectable score of 121.4. Sling use of a specified kind is allowed in the Cabin Fever Challenge and is generally agreed to improve aiming stability. An interesting setback to this is displayed here for a righty, and that is hitting the bolt release becomes a little awkward. And I see a bad lever in Brett's future. We always look forward to your entries and the appropriate range lingo.
Hey, dickheads. Are you cold?
And that brings us to first place. This year in first place we have a Cabin Fever Challenge frequent flyer known as AKM 295. Once again shooting from America and at a range facility determined to use sustainably grown solar panels it looks like. He was using an AR-15 chambered in 5.56 and landed 14 hits in a blazing fast time of 50 seconds flat, giving him an excellent score of 140. His run displays a perfect combination of fast, consistent mag changes, occurring simultaneously with maneuvering into the next position, followed up by fast and decently accurate repeated fire. Certainly a run to be proud of. Well, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for your submissions, and I hope to see you next year.
Well, let's see how I did. Whoa, I hit some stuff. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And to celebrate, got us some Canadian candy, some coffee crisps. So, Greg, on me. Some coffee crisps. We'll eat it.
Coffee crisp is good. Yeah.
Yes. Cheers. Cheers. I don't know the lyrics to "Oh Canada," but
Yeah.
"Oh Canada." Yummy.
Division 3.
Hey there, folks. Welcome to 2025 for Division 3. We had 18 entrants this year. Did pretty well. Keeping our video shorter this year. It's been a very rough winter for many of us, particularly in North America and the northern states in Canada. Technical malfunctions, computers going down, internet going down. It's definitely been an unusually tough year. So, let's get to the results. I wanted to give an honorable mention to Zebulon Pike. Made a great effort with our Rossi 92. I've only seen one other use of this rifle in the competition. He was shooting it in 45 long Colt, 5 hits in 177 seconds for a score of 14.1. and showed some very good reloads. For those of you who aren't used to shooting tube-fed rifles, stuffing rounds down a tube under the clock is a lot more difficult than it looks. And that brings us to our podium finishers. In third place, we have Albertan Rifleman with a Troy SPR in 223. He got a perfect score of 20 hits in 120 seconds for a score of 83.3. Very nicely done. In second place, we have Cade Cole with his Ruger American Ranch in a scout configuration. 16 hits in 84 seconds for a score of 95.2. Very nicely done. And our podium first place finisher for 2025, a consistently high-scoring shooter, Arloxon with his Ruger American in 223. 18 hits in 78 seconds for a score of 115.4. He even went through so much trouble as to explain economy of motion and his philosophy of use with his particular firearm. Great video, great shooting, Arloxon. Great shooting to everyone who I did not get to give a shout out to in this clip. Thank you for your entries, and we will see you next year.
So the rule is, John, if you outshoot me with my firearm, I'm going to delete the video.
Okay, sounds
Okay, it's fair?
Division 4.
Welcome to the Cabin Fever Challenge 2025 Division 4's single shot rifles. These are our shooters, so pitter-patters, let's get at hers.
Before getting into official standings for this year, I'd like to acknowledge Chris Instone from England. Chris submitted an unofficial entry for Division 4 that showed an impressive amount of thought and creativity to shoot a Cabin Fever Challenge run with a 101-year-old BSA 177 caliber air rifle. Chris reduced the target to shoot at 6 yards and cleverly made one roundel per shot to avoid the problem of scoring multiple pellet strikes on a very small target. While we don't have an air rifle division, Chris's thoughtful setup to shoot a run when a range was unavailable to him is very, very much in the spirit of the Cabin Fever Challenge. So well shot, and thank you very much, Chris. For the official standings, in 5th place we have Broden from Canada. Broden is shooting a BSA-made Snider Enfield Mark III short rifle and 5.77 Snider. He's shooting service equivalent loads of 68 grains of black powder behind the 600 grain X-ring bullet. This is a load I'm very familiar with in my own Sniders, but I've never managed to shoot it looking as good as Broden manages to do in his submission. Broden is dressed as a Scottish rifle volunteer and shoots with a period-correct uniform, cartridge box, and expense pouched. An improvised target stand does cause him some difficulty, and unfortunately, no rounds cut the black for a score of 0. Nevertheless, this was a great effort with an excellent video shooting one of my favorite single-shot rifles and looking as good as any historical shooter can look while doing it. Great job and well shot. In 4th place, we have myself, Bob Beck from Canada. I shot this year with an 1897 vintage Wesley Richard Contract Martini Francotte in 455-577. It was made for the Republic of South Africa. This is an interesting Martini Henry variant that was ordered by South Africa from Wesley Richards in England during the brief period of good relations with England. That time being the period between England granting South African independence and then realizing that the newly independent area had the largest deposits of gold in the world. My run was a last-minute effort and was hampered by some problems in my Martini Henry ammunition production. I had only a few extra rounds to get a point of impact for this rifle, and I did so rather poorly. The result was my rounds went all to the right of the target with only one hit in 213 seconds for a score of 2.3. So now we get to the podium. In 3rd place for bronze is Ari Feliciano, or Old Rifle 1898, from Puerto Rico. Ari is shooting a Remington rolling block and 7mm Mauser. Ari is also shooting in a historically correct uniform and kit for a Puerto Rican volunteer during the Spanish-American War. Ari notes that the rolling block was used in 43 Spanish during the Spanish-American War, and saw later use in 7mm Mauser in Mexico and other calibers in other countries right up to World War I.
Ari has problems with a few bulky primers due to old ammunition that seems to hamper his shoot a little bit, but perseverance pays off, and Ari records a result of 4 hits in 420 seconds for a score of 4.8. Thanks, Ari, for your submission and for your very informative video on the history of your rolling block rifle. In second place, for silver, we have Sean Elliott from Canada. Sean shoots a relatively speedy run with a CVA Scout break-action rifle in 44 Magnum in their first time ever shooting Division 4. Sean notes that his entry is a borrowed rifle and, with no adjustments on the sights, is using an aiming mark to hopefully put shots in the right spot. This seems to continue our long-standing tradition in the Cabin Fever Challenge of one run and done, or practice is cheating. With a borrowed rifle, Sean manages 5 hits in 260 seconds for a score of 9.6. Well shot and well done with all of your entries this year, Sean. Congratulations and thank you. Finally, the first place winner for Division 4 in the 2025 Cabin Fever Challenge is AKM 295 from the USA. AKM 295 is certainly no stranger to the Cabin Fever Challenge, being a frequent participant in a number of divisions over the years. This was, however, their first time shooting in Division 4. The rifle they used was the simple and yet effective Henry single shot in 357 Magnum. AKM 295's Henry has the added Skinner rear aperture and extended front sight. AKM 295 is shooting Remington 125 grain 38 special ammunition for this run, using the reduced 50-meter target on what appears to be a very windy day at the range. Nevertheless, a speedy run of 228 seconds, with nice position changes and 10 hits, many more close by, nets AKM 295 a winning score of 21.9. Congratulations to AKM 295 on winning Division 4 this year. And thanks to everyone who submitted for this year's Cabin Fever Challenge in Division 4.
Next year's you gotta pull your duster friends off the bench, head out for pracky and film some good runs for next season. Hope to catch you all next year.
Division 5.
Hello, chap here. Welcome to the results of Division 5, Muzzleloading Division. Sadly, I'm absent myself from this division. I've got plenty of muzzleloading projects going on, but unfortunately not much time to get to the range. But it's not about me, it's about the 8 brave musketeers who stepped forward from the line to compete. Now, before we get to the top 3, I would still like to give an honourable mention to the other 5 who, did their stuff and put their video out there for us all to enjoy. So, number 8, we have Travis Beale, shooting at 50 yards with a 50 cal Traditions Kentucky rifle, a self-build apparently, so all the best to you for building your own rifle. 1 impact in 215 seconds, giving a score of 2.3. Next at number 7 we have Ethan Woods, 11 Bang Bang, shooting an original fusil modèle 1777 en 9 musket in 69 caliber. Here we have 2 impacts in 157 seconds, giving a result of 6.4. Now he is shooting a 62 caliber ball in a paper cartridge, so that is actually very, very close to the original undersized ball used back in the day. Coming in 6th was Sean Elliott, using a CVA Firebolt, so that is a modern inline percussion muzzleloader, and apparently it's his first time shooting a muzzleloader ever, so he was setting himself up with a tough challenge. There were 3 solid hits in 198 seconds, giving a result of 7.6. I'm not sure what kind of projectile he's shooting, I can't tell from the table. They look pretty hard to start. I don't know if it's just a conical or if it's a maxi ball, but good performance anyway. In 5th position, we have the first of 2 corporals who happen to be sharing a Parker Hale P53 Enfield in 577, of course. It is Corporal Defarbe. Now, I'm a little suspicious of their rank since they are using a loader, so probably higher up the ranks than a mere corporal. Anyway, Corporal Defarbe has 2 solid hits in 121 seconds, giving a score of 8.3. Just shy of the top 3 is Scott, shooting a 1795 Springfield flintlock musket in .69, shooting paper cartridges again, with a .548 round ball, so also relatively loose fitting ball inside that paper. And here managed 3 hits in 181 seconds, which gives us a score of 8.3. Same as the previous score, but we have more hits on target, or in this case, on bucket. And now we come to the big 3. In third place, we have the second corporal, Corporal Dad, who is using the said Parker Hale P53. Here we have 3 hits in 178 seconds, giving a score of 8.4. Interestingly, both corporals decided not to use an integral Enfield type cartridge this time, but they have separated the two. So we have a paper cartridge containing the powder, so tear that open, pour down the charge, just thumb in the paper tube, and then they push a separate bullet over the top. So it was interesting, and it's good to see people experiment. In second place, we have Kieran James, who's actually last year's first place, using a Gibbs rifle, a P1856 in 5.77 caliber. We have 4 hits in 97 seconds, giving us a score of 20.6. Now this series is somewhat mesmerizing to me. He is using a sedate, should I say, stately pace, using individual components, so the separate powder tube, a separate bullet, a separate ramrod. He's going at a very easy pace, and yet it is only 97 seconds. So I don't know what witchcraft is going on here, but Mr. James, carry on doing it. And in first place, we have Everything Black Powder, who was actually last year's second place. So first and second have switched this year. We have a Kibler Southern Mountain rifle in 45 caliber, and that gave 4 hits in 73 seconds, which is remarkable. I still can't quite get over it. That gave a score of 27.4, so I think that's the highest score we've had so far. And it's all I can say is, let's just have a look at the rest of it, just so you can appreciate this skill.
Not so sure about that last one.
So as you can see, he's using a tap loading method, which is a historical method. It tended to be used in emergencies, but it's perfectly viable. He was a little wary when he sent the video whether we would accept it. We don't see any problem with it, as long as it's done safely. However, a word of caution, especially if you're starting out muzzleloading, do not do this unless you are very, very familiar with your firearm. Here you can clearly tell he's dropping the ball, he's listening, so he's got an idea of the sound it'll make if the ball hits the powder, and he's giving a little tap just to make sure. There's so many things that could get in the way of that ball getting down to the bottom. For example, if you're using self-cast bullets, if the sprue isn't very cleaned off very cleanly, that could wedge the ball partly down, especially in a rifled barrel. So be careful when you're doing this. This is not also to be confused with the horrible tap reloading method that was used in Sharp's Eagle. I can still remember when I was at secondary school, when that episode came out, it was an intense topic of discussion amongst us nerds as to whether that was historically accurate. And even then, when we had no clue, we were somewhat dubious about the fact of fighting a bullet and then putting the muzzle over your mouth of a fully charged rifle apart from the ball, and then supposedly spitting the ball down. So that method, please do not do that. And be careful if you are attempting to tap reload, as Everything Black Powder is doing here. That concludes the results of Division 5. To all the gentlemen that competed, I salute you, and I hope to join you next year. Bye.
Division 6.
Hi, I'm Justin with the CNR Collector channel, and this is your Division 6 Rimfire Awards video.
This year we had 17 entries from 5 different countries. Most of our entries were at the 50-yard meter range, but we did end up having 2 from the 25-yard or meter range. About half our entries this year were with the very popular Ruger 10/22. Throughout the years, this has always been a very popular weapon, it being semi-auto and highly available. Some of the other weapons that were shot this year, we saw several different bolt actions, Winchesters and CZs, and then an odd Kronsberg 22 training rifle that looked pretty cool. Now let's see who made it onto the podium. In third place, we have Ryan Nix. He's firing, once again, the popular Ruger 10/22 in 22 long rifle. He scored 14 hits in 58 seconds for a total score of 120.7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 on target.
So our race between second and first is kind of a grudge match between Brent and Nick. And I'll have Brent explain that to you.
This is the event, if you're a Cabin Fever Challenge aficionado, where Nick, the Dick, borrowed my rifle and outshot me with it. So today what we're gonna do is we're going to do our very best not to let that happen again. I told him he wasn't allowed to shoot any of my shit ever again. That was 2 years ago. Nick, have I held you with my threat?
Well, if I can't beat you with your rifle, I'll have to beat you with mine.
You're a son of a bitch. All right, we're gonna see how it goes.
So here we go. In second place is Brent Yoakum using his Ruger 10/22 and 22 long rifle. He scored 16 hits in 59 seconds for a total score of 135.6.
It looks like 16. All right. Gotta put this back here. See if we can get it good. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
So that means in first place we have Nick Westman using his Ruger 10/22, also in 22 long rifle. He scored 14 hits in 49 seconds for a total score of 142.9.
Tip it up. There you go. There we go.
4, 5. 1, 2,
Right.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
How many holes?
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Well, congratulations, Nick. You not only took first place in Division 6, but you also had the highest overall score of 2025 Cabin Fever Challenge. So great job. It's great to see some friendly competition between club members there, and I think that really hits right home to the spirit of the Cabin Fever Challenge. So hope you guys had a great time, and we'll see you next year.
And finally, Division 7.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year again. We will be judging the Cabin Fever Challenge of 2025 Division 7, the manual repeating arms division of the Cabin Fever Challenge. I am Ethan Woods, by the way, of the 11 Bang Bang channel, and let's go ahead and let's get started. So coming in at number 22 from the USA, we have Adam Priestley from Dutch Country Outdoors. He shot with an M1860 Spencer carbine in 5650. He got 6 hits and 306 seconds, giving him a grand total score of 9.8. So that is one of the most unique ones we've seen. Let's move on to the next one. Coming in at number 21 from Finland, we have Pluglot. At 100 meters with an M39 rifle, he managed to get off 5 hits, that is, in 188 seconds, giving him a score of 13.3. Coming in at number 20, we have from the USA, Corporal Dad, with a Marlin Model 336 and 30-30 Winchester. He managed to get off 6 hits in 190 seconds, giving him a total score of 15.8. Coming in at number 19 from Finland, we have Jarkko, who at 100 meters took a Finnish Mosin Nagant M2830 in 7.62x54R, and he got 4 hits in 107 seconds, giving him a score of 18.7. Coming in at number 18 from England, we have Ethelred the Unready at 100 meters with a Lee Enfield number 5 and 303 Brit. He got 5 hits in 129.5 seconds, giving him a score of 19.3. Not gonna lie, that's pretty good for doing it without practice, as he had mentioned. Coming in at number 17, we have Ryan Nix from the USA. At 100 yards with an Enfield number 4, 303 Brit, he managed to get 6 hits in 130 seconds, giving him a score of 23.1. Coming in at number 16 from the USA, we have Diesel 40 Dawn, who at 100 meters with a Mauser Model 98 and 358 Winchester managed to score 8 hits in 144 seconds, giving him a score of 27.8. Coming in at number 15 from Deutschland, we have Nicholas, who at 50 meters with the appropriate target used his M1917 Springfield in 30-06 to score 6 hits in 105 seconds, giving him a score of 28.6. Number 14 from Canada, we have Bob Beck, who with a Ross in 303 British managed to get 8 hits in 140 seconds, giving him a score of 28.6. He's actually tied with Nikolaus from Germany. Coming into 13th place from the USA, we have 57 actual Tom Lashbrook, who at 100 meters with a Smith Corona 1903A3 and 30-06 managed to get 10 hits in 166.94 seconds, giving him a score of 30 even. Coming in at number 12 from the USA, we have Justin, who at 50 yards, once again with the appropriate target, used a U-Birdie Winchester Model 1873 and 357 Magnum, who scored 6 hits in 98.4 seconds, giving him a score of 30.5. And yes, Justin, I have to agree with you. I also love that rifle. Coming in at number 11, we have from Canada, DMP in BC, who at 100 yards with a Lee Enfield Smelly managed to get 9 hits in 140 seconds, giving him a score of 32.1. Coming in 10th place from Switzerland, we have the chap who managed to, at 100 meters, use his Moss 36 7.5x54 rifle to get 7 hits in 107.4 seconds, giving him a score of 32.6. Good job to the chap. Now let's move on to 9th place. In 9th place, we have from Finland, Mike 9975, who at 100 meters used a Marlin Model 1894 and 38 Special to get 10 hits in 150 seconds, giving him a score of 33.3. Coming into 8th place from the USA, we have Corporal DeFarb, who at 100 meters used his Marlin Model 336 and 30-30 Winchester to get 12 hits in 170 seconds, giving him a score of 35.3. Coming into 7th place from Canada, we have Rob from British Muzzleloaders, who at 100 meters with his Mark III Ross rifle managed to get 12 hits in 166 seconds, giving him a score of 36.1. Coming in at 6th place from the USA, we have channel name goes here, who at 100 meters used a Swiss 1896, managed to get 9 hits in 93 seconds, giving him a score of 48.4. Coming in to 5th place from Switzerland, we have Bloke on the Range, who at 100 meters used his Leonfield number 4 Mark I Star to get 11 hits in 109 seconds, giving him a score of 50.5. Now on to 4th place from Canada, we have Sean Elliott, who at 50 meters, once again using the appropriate target, used his VZ24 8mm Mauser to get 16 hits in 150 seconds, giving him a score of 53.3. So, coming in at number 3 from the USA, we have Chris Sanchez, or Catus Borealis, who at 100 yards used his Danzig Gewehr 1888 to get 15 hits in 137 seconds, giving him a score of 54.7. And he did this, I might add, with all home cast bullets. So we have a bit of a conundrum here. There really is not a second place, because this year we actually have a neck and neck tie for first place of Division 7. From Finland, the Finnish rifleman, who used a Seiko 30-06 Springfield to get 13 hits in 95 seconds for a score of 68.4. Now, for the other first place tie, we have from the USA, Brent Yoakum, aka Arloxon, who at 100 meters used a Remington Springfield 1903 A3 30-06, and he got 13 hits in 95 seconds for a score of 68.4, just like the Finnish rifleman. So there you have it, folks. A dead tie for first place of the Cabin Fever Challenge Division 7 of 2025. I'd like to thank you all for coming along and participating this year. And as always, thank you, trust in God, and keep your powder dry. Bye.
So thanks for watching. Thanks again to all the 7 division leaders and to Richard for the sterling work behind the scenes. I think we worked well as a good team. It kind of ran itself, luckily, because a little bit of a personal note, my private and professional life have been a bit crazy the last 6 months or so. So I've not been as active as I would have liked to have been, and it was a bit touch and go as to whether Chappie and myself would be able to manage to get to a range to shoot it ourselves at all, but we did. So that was great. If you want to enter this kind of thing, please look out for the announcements on Facebook and everywhere else. Next year, it's always run from the 1st of January to the 31st of March. Thank you so much to all the participants, because obviously without the participants, this would not happen. Excellent shooting from a lot of people there, and a lot of LARPing. I'm always like a bit of the LARP, and yeah, so even the guys that didn't shoot so well, thank you so much for putting your entries in, and yeah, onwards and upwards. So see you again. Bye.